questions cause an instant mental reflex in the brain. So what that means is, when someone asks you a question, or when you ask yourself a question, your brain is wired to instantly respond to the question or to look for the answer to that question. It's the way our brains were wired. So let's say you're at a cocktail party and someone was to ask you, so what is it that you do? You'll see that your conscious mind will quickly go into focus into answering the question. And the more complex the question, the more focused your mind becomes in search of the answer. So if they were to ask you instead, so tell me some of the projects you're working on, it's like you're so focused on answering the question, you're not even aware of some of the things that are going on around you. So that's what's really interesting about questions. Our brains are wired to search and to look for answers to questions, either questions that are posed to us or questions we pose to ourselves. So I'll give you some other examples about questions and the value of these questions, because it's interesting. If you don't know the answer to the question, even when your conscious mind is no longer asking the question, your subconscious mind is still looking for the answer to the question. So let's say you're listening to music on the radio and you hear this song and you're like, what's the name of that song? And you might not be able to get the answer right away. So you leave it, you'll find hours later, you're like, now I remember the name of that song. So even though your conscious mind is no longer looking for the answer, guess what? The question went into your subconscious mind, and now your subconscious mind is in search for the answer. Same thing if you were walking down the street and you bump into someone and they says, hi, and you're like, damn it, what's your name? And you kind of think, I remember that person, but you cannot remember her name or where you had known that person from. Could it be school or work? And then you say hi and they're gone, and then you might be walking with a friend and you say, I can't remember her name. So now you go on with your regular business of the day, and then much later in the day it might come up and say, now I remember who she is. Now I remember where I worked with her. And so it's interesting. So even when you stop asking the question with your conscious mind, your subconscious mind is still working to find the answer. So this is what I want you to do, and this can make your manifesting work a lot faster. So before you go to bed, I want you to ask a question like, what would my life look like if I, and now fill it in with what you really want out of life. I'll give you some examples. What would my life look like if I got my ideal job? What would my life look like if I found my ideal partner? What would my life look like if I had $1 million in my bank account? Or what would my life look like if I had better health? What would my life look like? And you fill it in. What would my life look like? But don't just ask the question from the space of your mind. Ask the question with some emotions, right? Because what happens is your vibrations key as well. The question and your vibration. So ask the question instead of what would my life look like if I had more money, or what would my life look like if I had a limitless amount of money. Ask it like, what would my life look like if I had a different job? What would my life look like if I was living my ideal life? What would my life look like? What would my life look like if I had my soulmate with me? What would my life look like if my relationships were better? What would my life look like if I was doing what I really passionately want to do? So ask it with emotions and pose the question, what if, or what would my life look like? Maybe you're not very visual. You could then ask, what if everything I wish for actually came into being. What if I did land that job that I've been wanting? What if I did finish that novel? What if I did get published? So what happens now is ask it before you go to bed. Now the reason I say to do it before you go to bed is because it's really effective. When you're sleeping, your brain's not dead. Your brain is now in search of the answer to your questions. Pose the questions in a positive way. You see, statements of affirmations only work when there's no resistance within our subconscious mind against the affirmation. So someone could be saying they affirm, well, I am healthy, but they don't feel healthy, or they keep or their subconscious mind is like, no, I've been sick for as long as I can remember. And so there's resistance to affirmations if you don't rescript to beliefs that support that affirmation. But with a question, it's really hard to have any resistance when it comes in the form of a question. And the best part of it is we're wired to answer questions, even when we stop asking the question. And I want you to do this for 21 days and see if you don't actually see not only a clearer vision of what you want out of your desire, not only will you get a clearer vision, you'll actually see things around you. Because what happens then, now your brain goes into overdrive to look for evidence in support of the answer you were looking for. So the question is, what would it be like to have my ideal job? Now you'll start having pictures of what that ideal job would look like, and it'll fill your psyche. And not only that, your body, you can actually feel it, you know, the excitement of doing what you want to do. So do this for 21 days before you go to bed. Pose the question. The question, to me, it's a $64,000 question because it's based on what you want out of life. So what is it you desire? Now look at it from the point of a question. What would my life look like if and fill it in, and just leave it and do it for 21 days. It's amazing. All around you, your brain is now going to be searching for evidence to support the answer to that question. And why I say do it for 21 days and do it consistently before you go to bed. And if you nap in the afternoon like I do, you can also do it then. And do it consistently and keep to 1 or 2 questions. But fill your mind with that question. What would my life look like if I lived my ideal life? What would my life look like if I had that ideal partner? What would my life look like? And continue doing this and let me know how it works out. And that's one way to manifest a lot quicker. I'm Jennifer Thompson.